Get your seat.
Today we're going to have a presentation from Flavia Franco. We'll have a Q&A following that. Flavia has generously agreed to moderate her own Q&A. We'll have from Kathy updates of what SOCAN is doing, and she's going to be twisting your arms either to or both to walk in the parade and be part of the SOCAN booth at the Lithia Park July the 4th event. And then we're going to look at events of our partners. But first, our land acknowledgement. As an organization based in the Rogue Valley, we gather here on the occupied land of the Latgawa, Shasta, and Takelma people. In the 1850s, tribes were displaced due to the gold rush and colonization of southern Oregon. This brought war, starvation, genocide, and the erasure of the local tribes. In 1853, the Rogue River Treaty was signed, where 3 tribes were forced to cede their land in the upper Rogue Valley and relocate to temporary reservations, the closest one being Table Rock. We recognize that we are on the stolen land and will work to protect our community, the climate, and environment for future generations. Oregon is home to 9 federally recognized tribes. However, there are many tribes that do not hold this status of being recognized. We hope that with this land acknowledgement, you will research the land you reside on, work with us to honor the original caretakers, and to protect our environment and community in the work we are doing.
All right, thank you. Thanks, Alan. Hello. I just want to give a shout out to Alan for his participation in the great climate change debate that's been unfolding in the sneak preview front page for the last couple months. So I don't know if any of you read it, but kudos to Alan for getting his message out there and engaging people with his conversation. So you should check it out if you haven't seen it yet. So thanks so much for being here tonight, and I hope that we can engage in some good exchange and discussion. And I hope that you're going to be glad that you joined us tonight. And tonight's event is about how to be effective when taking climate action. And to most folks who recognize my name in Rogue Valley, they associate me with the food scrap collection bins at the Growers Market in Ashland. Oh, thank you. Yes, that's good. And a lot of folks who contribute their food scraps, they always thank me for their chance to participate. And some of them get to know me enough to understand why I do what I do. And so to catch you all up with a little bit of thumbnail background about me so that you could be on the same page as I am. So here we go, just a couple minutes of that. So, how I ended up working on food waste, composting, and the local food system in Ashland. I started out wanting to be a journalist, and then life happened, and I became a single mom. And this little guy here is still very cute at age 50. And it took me 12 years to get my bachelor's degree, and I ended up becoming a financial analyst. And I got married. So then 18 years later, I'm divorced. I've got time on my hands, and I figure out that I can spend my time any way I please. So the first thing that happened was I attended a tabling session with the Sierra Club, and then I saw that movie, Inconvenient Truth, and then I was part of Democracy for America during the Obama administration. And then we retired and we moved up to Ashland. And it checked all the boxes, including family, and here we are. And then I took an OLLI class. And the OLLI class was based on this book by Joanna Macy. And it was very, very good. And it was also based on Project Drawdown. And we had met, Carrie and I had met Paul Hawken when he did a book reading in the San Francisco Bay Area. And Project Drawdown was being sponsored by Southern Oregon Pachamama Alliance, and what they were trying to do was they were challenging people to form groups around the top 10 ranked solutions that would draw down greenhouse gas emissions. And so I became part of a group that picked the number 3 ranked solution, and that was reducing and preventing food waste. And I was surprised. I didn't know that would be that highly ranked. So number 1 and number 2 ranked solutions were refrigeration and wind turbines. It's a very interesting list, so you should check it out sometime. And then I also helped them because this group needed a bookkeeper, and they needed somebody to help write the grant that they were applying for so they could conduct food waste workshops. So I was helping them with that, and then we got COVID, so the workshops went out the window. So instead we started learning about composting, yada, 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 and I am now the Goodwill ambassador for the Compost Outpost at the Ashland Growers Market on Tuesdays. So there you go, 2 minutes of your life you're never gonna get back. And so onward we go. So back in January of 2024, SOCAN had this one meeting where we talked about this Venn diagram. And there was also a TED Talk associated with this by Elizabeth Ayanna Johnson. It was very good, and Kathy will tell you I was very excited about this. And one reason that I might have been excited because I never knew I had a thing for Venn diagrams, and maybe now I do. But it was also because this looked to me like it was coming from a position of strength to deal with problems that need doing. Because I've experienced a lot of setbacks, I get discouraged, and I started doing things just out of a sense of obligation, and just saying those 3 things in a row all together makes my shoulders collapse, and I start sighing, and so we're excited about this, and I thought, the reason why I think this is good is because you're staying in the center, which feels really safe, and it's really hard to knock people down when they're centered on their feet and they're centered in their thinking. So it really resonated with me on a whole lot of levels. So what I want to do is I want to show you how I interpreted those circles for me. So the first question, what brings me joy? And so I just want to tell you right off the bat, front and center, Carrie, my boyfriend partner over there, he could score all kinds of boyfriend points with coffee. And I'm very grateful for that, and I thank my Brazilian genes and my heritage, because that does it for me every morning. And the next thing on the left-hand side, this little guy, I found him in the Pony Espresso parking lot in Ashland, also in January of 2024, and I was just delighted by it. It's no bigger than a little handball. And so somebody went to all that trouble assembling this thing. That's a little delicata squash, and then just left it there for me, and I was delighted. And yes, I would have also been delighted if it was a $20 bill I found in the parking lot, but this thing has lasted with me a lot longer than $20, and it's my picture for my Google profile. So, and then the thing on the right, you'll see me going goofy giddy over all kinds of things all over Ashland because it's so pretty. And this tree is in front of the library. You can see the steps of the library there. And, I appreciate nature's art everywhere. And that thing on the left, just to tie this back into current day, my friend conducted a workshop, I think it was last month, and she called it the Anonymous Art Workshop. And she gathered friends, and with simple materials, they made little things, kind of like this, and just left them around town so that strangers would find them, and it would brighten their day. And so I think that that's just a lovely idea. So the stuff in the middle, they really do bring me joy. And I started wondering, why do those things bring me joy? And I think it's good to contemplate why. And also there's this question over here, is there a common thread? So we'll get back to that question later, but I just wanted to share with you what the things are that bring me joy. So then the next thing is, what am I good at doing? And you could sum me up 2 words, back office. I'm all about the office part, and I'm more comfortable being in the back, not in the front. So, and I think, when you think about musicians, they love to play. If you've ever really talked to musicians, they don't really care a whole lot about anything else. They just love to play. And so that's why they practice so much. So I use this activist aptitude. That's what I'm drawing from a list, and it's going to be one of the handouts I give you after this. And it's really helpful because it just it describes skills and capabilities that an environmental or a nonprofit organization would find useful. And so hopefully you'll find it useful too. And then so these are all the activist aptitudes that I came up with about me. And then the not as good part, I'm not that comfortable with this, but I am getting better. So public speaking. I really feel sorry for the folks who attended the first OLLI class that I taught, which was called Understanding the Fight Against Climate Change, and that was back in 2021. So I've taught 3 other OLLI classes since then, and 1 Parks and Recs class, and a lot of different presentations. So it's coming along. I'm getting better at it. And then I'm also trying to deal with, I'm committed to learning more about permaculture and gardening. Community gardening is very important. There's the community part and the gardening part that I need skill building on. And also composting. So Carrie and I have taken over one of the community composting services in Ashland this summer. And so I just think that if I get better at it, it will help me meet with more success in the future. And then this last part here, really not that good. So Alan and Kathy, I want you to understand this. If you ever need to conduct a fundraising event where people actually have fun, don't pick me for that one, because I'm really not that good at it. And the other thing, making things fun, is you know how some people are seeking a life coach? I need a fun coach. And I'm serious, and I can't pay you anything because of the other thing. I suck at raising money. So there you have me, warts and all. And so this next one is, am I doing it right? Okay, where do I point? Battery's dead already. Nope, go back.
There we go.
Yep, okay. What I think needs doing. So this is my list, and the list has changed in the last couple of years, and that's okay. That's actually good, because as you're thinking, your values of what matters to you and what's important changes. So I can unpack this for you a little bit. Dissolving the myth of separation. That is something that wasn't really even in my vocabulary at the beginning of 2024. And what it is it's a paradigm that a lot of people are living in and working in. And that paradigm is us versus them thinking, and the have and have-nots thinking. And if we were to all think of the whole world as our one big family, we're all passengers on this spaceship, and we are brothers and sisters, would we really be comfortable letting 1 billion people go hungry? In fact, right now there's about 300 million people in the world that their lives are actually in danger from starvation. Would we be comfortable if we really erased that myth of separation and considered them all family? And would we be comfortable if we were so connected to nature, like trees are connected to their ecosystem? Would we be comfortable with all the pollution that's going on. We really wouldn't. And would we be comfortable with all the killing that happens? No. So, that is going to stay on my list. And then the purpose to life is to produce more life. That's just a statement, but it's a really profound statement to me, so that's going to stay there. And then happy planet and happy people, and also resilience, those are two things that came up for me in 2023 when I attended SOU's climate conference. And resilience, I started hearing at that conference, I started hearing stories about people who were in the Alameda fire and dealt with their homes being lost and the rebuild that has to take place. And it started bringing back all the events in my lifetime that I wasn't really letting myself fully witness. Things like the Oklahoma bombing, 9/11, Fukushima, the tsunamis in Thailand, Hurricane Katrina, and those were all things that I was like, ah. And I started really understanding that we are fools if we do not prepare for stuff when it hits the fan. And we don't have to be Debbie Downer or all doomsday and depressing about it. We could just do it like the people down in the South do it. They help their neighbors nail the stuff down and store stuff when the hurricane is getting ready to blow in. So that's what resilience means to me, is coming together. And happy planet, happy people part, that also came together for me in that conference, because as you were told in my 2-minute summary, that I started with the Sierra Club. And before the Sierra Club was caring about climate change, their main thing was to protect the great wild places from modern encroachment. And slowly, I started to see that climate justice and equity were making their way up in priority in these big organizations' goals and missions. And I was in the dark about why. What was all the fuss about? And so this really, at that conference, Blanca from Rogue Climate, she really made that very clear to me. And then the next two items, stopping corruption and pointing out the destructive nature of corruption and advocating for justice. We could talk about that in the Q&A if you want. I'll just go right through. And then freeing the food system from the domination of capitalism. That's really important to me and my work. And there's two reasons. One is cities have franchises. And a franchise agreement with a waste hauler means that they have an exclusive monopoly to go around the town and collect the trash. Now, these waste haulers could have you separate out your food scraps so that it could go to a composting facility. I mean, they own the composting facility. I mean, it would be that easy. But because it costs too much and it's too much trouble, they just don't do that. But having the franchise agreement means they don't want to let anybody else do that either. So that's one problem with the current state of capitalism. The other problem is that people have to pay for food. If they can't pay for food, then the food stops moving. If there's no money or profit to be made on food, then it just stops and it gets wasted and it doesn't get eaten. And so if they wanted to, they could take it over to the food bank. They could take it over to the community meals where people are cooking for people that need it, but they don't. And so so this is my issue, is that, yes, we have churches and we have nonprofits that jump in there to do the deed, to keep the food moving so that it doesn't all end up as, rotten spoilage, but funding is running out for them. It's drying up, and all the food banks everywhere are hurting. I mean, you've heard it from many different places. So that is a very specific something that needs doing for me, and so that's what I'm kind of focusing on. But it deserves to be up here, and because, I mean, face it, we all eat, so we're all part of the food system. So it is kind of a global, but also a very local issue for me as well. And then building community. That to me is kind of the holy grail. So that's why community has a capital C. And I would say that the reason why I kind of got hooked into that theme is I did see a talk by Marshall Gans once, and he was very good. I took like 32 bullet points from his talk, from his 1-hour talk. I thought he was wonderful. And then I read this book, Neighbor Power, Building Community, the Seattle Way. And this was wonderful too, and I was hooked, and I even taught a class based on a lot of the principles that I was reading off of this. And so I think that a big part of our solutions is building community, because together we could work on stuff together, and we're much more powerful when we work together. So I could go on talking about this, but I need to move on. So that's up to me. Okay, so this is how my efforts show up. This is what you can see, and this is for 2026. And the compost outpost, that was a lovely term that one of the food scrap contributors came up for me, and that is going to be sticking with me for a while. I love it. And then another thing that has come up for me is the Living Earth Community Action Training, and this is a training sponsored by Pachamama Alliance. And it really is kind of like bringing me to a different level. And so some of the handout materials is coming out of that training. And then community gardening, this is my first year actually trying to participate in a community gardening experience. It's different, and I'm just a flunky there. So I'm not trying to lead anything. I just take orders and try to show up. And then neighborhood leadership program. I don't know, does anybody not know what the neighborhood leadership program is? Okay, all right, well, you can ask Kathy or Alan or me, and I'll be happy to tell you, but it is important. Getting out the vote is part of being a responsible citizen and helping your community get better, because without our participation, stuff is not going to be good. And then the Rogue Valley Food System Network, this is also new for me this year. They started a working group, and the first time I engaged with Rogue Valley Food System Network, there wasn't even enough people to hold a Zoom call, but now there are. So that's improvement, that's progress. And we'll go more into how that working group is paying off in a little bit. And then Bellevue Grange, I did join back in 2022, but now my responsibilities are up a couple notches, and hopefully it will play a critical role in building community. So I'm hoping that this will be a very important part of what we're doing. And then legislative advocacy. So Alan has kind of mentored me a little bit into how to do public comments and how to kind of sift through the over 3,000 proposed legislations in 2025. And I don't know how he did it, but he was able to come up with his top 10. Meanwhile, I was struggling going through the weeds. It was terrible. So I am trying to learn some more there as how to connect with groups that can make a difference. And then connection to other organizations, those are other areas and groups that I also connect with. So, all right, so we're back on this slide, and I just want to say that sometimes the center seems a little bit small, and I'm like, I don't know how to stay in there. It's kind of accidental, and sometimes it doesn't even exist, and it could be discouraging, right? And so this is what I'm really here to talk about, is how to really be more effective, given this premise, how to really make that center sing. Okay. Let's see if that works. Oh no, I'm stuck. I did it. Okay. All right, I'm going to read this list down, and then we'll come back to this with some examples. But I want to concentrate on create a positive feedback loop. So make each circle bigger. So what brings you joy, what needs doing, and what your skills are. And keep the focus and adjust the focus. So I'll explain that a little bit more, but basically, if you sense and can connect the dots of the issue that you're trying to work on and make it to where it's going to be really relevant, because it also affects this. I mean, one of Carrie's favorite sayings is everything is connected. Well, that's true, and especially, you know, if you follow there's this joke that Dalai Lama walks into the pizza parlor, and he goes, well, Dalai Lama, what do you want? And he says, I want one with everything. So yes, everything is connected according to Dalai Lama. And then look for and affirm life where it shows up. And that is, that's important. And I said I would just read the list down, but I'm stopping, so I got to keep going. Keep learning, create a positive feedback loop, and be open. So now we can get to the positive feedback loop. Okay, so that red kind of makes me want to step back. So this is really kind of common sense, but it also is like if you think about it and actually work it, it starts working for you. So let's say you come up with an idea, so that's your direction. So then you go, is that connected to what I'm really trying to do? Or is it kind of like putting me in a direction of a different rabbit hole? Like, you know, I started getting all excited about, why are they building so many data centers and cryptocurrency, blah, blah, blah. And, you know, and Carrie's like, are you caring about food waste? Or are you going to do this now? I mean, are you going to completely switch gears? So that's an example. And so you pick a direction, and you connect it to your focus, and then you start working your opportunities and looking for opportunities. And this is where being open is important, because sometimes you don't really recognize the opportunities until it's like, oh, I could have said something to that guy. And then once you start putting things into motion, you come up with disappointments or successes. And what's really important is that you use a spirit of inquiry, not to be hard on yourself, and just ask yourself, what went right, what went wrong? And then reflect on that and see, you know, like, I'm old, you know, I'm, you know, battling aging, and I have to write everything down in an organized way so that I won't forget it. And that slows me down, and that slowing down helps it sink in more. And that is reflection. And then inspiration and recharge. So inspiration could come from anywhere. It could come from the face of someone's grandchild. It could come from a restored creek bank. It could come from enriched soil. And you got to be open to when that happens. You know, it could be a stranger in the grocery store, just, you know, being kind or something like that. I mean, inspiration is everywhere, and affirming life when you see it and where you see it is what it takes to get your recharge going. Like when you have a setback, the wind goes out of your sails. I don't feel like doing anything. I just want to walk away. And you need to get the wind back into your sails so that your energy level comes back up and you're able to do the things that you really care about. So this is why I wrote this feedback loop. And the reason why it is a feedback loop is because the more you stay in this cycle, it just starts bouncing off, going different directions. It's an opportunity, it becomes an inspiration, all that kind of stuff. Like, we were in Eastern Oregon last week, and we did a little tour of the Old Souls Farm. And so I'm standing there talking to the farmer, and I see this 5-gallon hot pink bucket. And on the bucket, there's a logo, and it says Compost Chick. And so I asked her about it, and she's like, oh yeah, that's the food scrap collection service we use here in this region. And I'm like, oh man, I gotta find out about this. So I have an interview with her tomorrow, and I'm very excited. So so that's an example. That is an inspiration, a recharge, and it's a connection to my focus. So I do want to stop before I get back to that other list. I do want to stop and get on my soapbox a little bit, because social connections are key. The second to the last bullet there, relationships are at the heart of every social movement. And that's, if you think about the big social movements that has happened, these aren't like perfect strangers. It's like, I got your back, we're gonna sit at that lunch counter together. I wasn't there, but I hear that's what happened. So I'll just read this down, and then we'll move on, but I want you to take to heart. This is a really important key, and we have a problem in this society that the glue that holds us together is starting to dissolve, and we are at risk. So things like corruption, disinformation, our black rectangles, there's so many things that are trying to pull us apart and keep us in our little separate places. And so we have to counter that. We have to not let that happen. And we can't let society make us feel ashamed for being poor, while the rich people are just exploiting the resources of the earth and frankly, they're not doing any of us a service with their lifestyles. So I don't want to get stuck on that. So I'm just going to read this down, and then we'll move on. So resilience will be critical, and resilience exists in a social network. We are social creatures. We are wired for connection, and we have to invest in and value those that we know. And then people are like icebergs. There's so much beyond what you see on the surface. And so if we just go a little bit deeper, we will connect with people in a deeper way. And then we accomplish more when we work together. And great changes in the past had social movement at its core. And I already read the second to the last one. And then connections to the earth and other living things are essential for restoring balance. So there's social connection, and there's also connecting the dots. So I know that's a little bit confusing using the same word in two different ways, but there you go. All right. So I also wanted to throw this in here because I've never really heard the relationship and the roles of the organizer and the volunteer discussed in this way before. And I think that that's really important. What is the responsibility of the organizer? They provide inspiration, support, opportunities for progress. They affirm, like, thank you for what you do, type of thing. They give direction, they give context. And, these are real responsibilities. And the volunteer is responsible to know his or her own mind, heart, and ability, and the capacity, and also to choose whether or not the direction that the organization is going is the right one for them. And so I wanted to do this because I'm starting to sense more organizer responsibilities because of my role at the Grange, and now a little bit in my food system work. And I think that this is important. I'm trying to bring on more volunteers, and this is new territory for me as well. So I thought it was important to bring this up. And I think if both the organizer and the volunteer are communicating effectively, and if they're functioning well, then you're going to have success in your organization. And then, so back to this list, making the intersections bigger. So I said I would give an example. So I will read A Perfect Storm, if I could find it. It's a quick story. Okay. All right. As you may know, Ashland Food Co-op sponsors the food scrap collections bin. They reported on how much carbon dioxide equivalent they avoided with this program. Well, I'm so grateful for their help. I gave them a big shout out in my newsletter. And I know Chris Byrne, the one who runs the sustainability program in Medford. In Medford in 2024, they also helped us get that started, and with a community grant. But 3/4 of the way through 2025, we had to shut it down because after 2024 was over, we tried to make it sustainable with subscriptions, and we just didn't get enough to support the service. And so one day in the spring of 2026, so this year, I'm at the growers market, and Chris stops by and he asked me how the Medford site is going. I had to give him the update. And he said he'd be willing to help it get started again. So I talked about this opportunity on my monthly call with Rogue Valley Food System Network, and Doug Lufdahl is on the call and offered to help. Now, I've gotten to know Doug because I interviewed him for a class that I taught in 2025, and Doug is the operations manager of the Family Nurturing Center. And Family Nurturing Center is doing great work helping young families that are vulnerable. They incorporate farming practices for healing, teaching skills, and family activities. And they work on a 5-acre plot of land out at the OSU Extension, so it's only 5 miles from the drop site. And they're volunteering to host the bins at their parking lot. So this is all like coming together, and Doug's 5 acres is the one receiving the food scraps now from Ashland Growers Market. So they already know how to use it. It's not like we're doing something brand new with them. So all I have to do is use my connections, build the social and connecting the dots, not letting the opportunities slip by, be open to letting a solution come together. And I was inspired by Wayne, who's one of my weekly contributors in Medford. And he really wanted me to keep trying to find a way to bring the collection bins back. And so now we're starting the collection bins again, starting July 6th, and it'll be at Family Nurturing Center, which is 825 East Main Street. So it's just down the street and around the corner from the Growers Market in Medford at the Hawthorne Park. And so the bins and the signage are already there. And I just want to say that's a story about, being open, look for and affirm, what works, and just, keep trying to, basically I just had to stand out of the way and convince myself that it could work. We just need to fill in the blanks. What do we need? What do we need? And so another example, keep learning, is, now I have to go back because I really screwed up my place here. I would try and teach a class on food waste, and like nobody shows up. And because food scrap collection doesn't have great curb appeal, it's not very sexy. And I would try and piggyback on a food adjacent issue in order to attract more people. And so it's like, hey, well, while they're listening to this person talk, I'll just tell them about food waste over here. And so that actually worked a little bit, but what I did was it started getting me to learn, and I've been learning I just can't stop it. I'm a habitual learner because it took me 12 years to get my bachelor's degree, and it just keeps going. So I guess that's one of the things that brings me joy and that I'm good at. And we all are naturally expanding, some of us physically. And but I do I do try to see what I can do if there is a problem placed in front of me. But it doesn't, and being open means seeing things as opportunity, but it doesn't mean that I can turn every conversation into a discussion about food waste. Like, it's really not cool to bring it up at a funeral. You know, you got to stay classy. So being open means being open and being able to read people. Is this person kind of want to talk to me about it? I don't know, but maybe if I paid attention to their body language a little bit, I could do that. And keep learning doesn't mean saying yes to everything. I have to control my power and my energies to keep peace in my family and to keep me focused on what I need to do. Otherwise, I get pulled in all these different directions. So keep learning doesn't mean say yes to everything. Yeah, so those subjects under there, seeing the connections, those are the things I've been touching on in my classes and you know, partnering with people to try and build up. Oh, I'm losing my voice. It's time to drink water. To try and build up food adjacent issues that might interest people because, of course, you know, like I said, food waste, not that sexy. Okay, it's this side of the button. There's a trick. So that brings us back to the circles. And yes, I did manipulate the circles so that they're all bigger and there's more stuff, there's more room in the middle. But I hope that I've made my case here. And I think being in this center, it gets easier as you progress. So that is also something that I've experienced. Okay, so now it's not working. Please, I kept backing up over here. Okay, there you go. So I wanted to bring this slide back just to try and end on a positive note, but also that I wanted to point out this question over here. Do you want me to answer this question for you? Are you ready to have me answer this question? Okay, this brings me joy, lots of joy. This is from Pie Ranch, and what's cool about this is, yes, the ideals on this page are very, very cool. And this literally shows sunshine and love, but Pie Ranch is also about resilience. So I actually visited Pie Ranch. It's on the coast of California, just south of Half Moon Bay. And in 2020, they have a farmhouse that's 157 years old. And they use this farmhouse for their classes, for their gatherings, for their dances. It burned down to the ground in a wildfire. Then, the following year, all the floods happened around Half Moon Bay and everything was wiped out. Now, today, you go to pieranch.org website and they are jamming. They are kicking ass. And so this is their vision, and I would love to see this for Rogue Valley. You know, it's about people, it's about the earth, it's about education, and then you have respect and justice and love and stewardship and empowerment and diversity, and you know, this is the whole ball of wax for me. So this is my vision for what I'd like to see. So that being said, my last slide of content is the medicine is working. This was a quote that I wrote for Ashland Climate Collaborative, and one of my favorite sayings is that food is medicine. Now I can say food is medicine, not just for the body, but for our community. When we value it, when we use it to help people, and when we get it to where it's needed, and when we work together. And so that's, you know, kind of what I want to leave you with. And I also wanted to quote from another book that SOCAN introduced me to. This speaker was here last year, I think. And this is Ecosystems as Models for Restoring Our Economies. And what he said, I have to read that because I don't have it memorized. Yeah. Okay. When you feel like what you're doing matters, that leads to fulfillment. And what I got from that other book was that the objective of an economy should be fulfillment. And the way he defines fulfillment is the quote, the deep satisfaction awakened when one's abilities and talents, what are we good at, are being fully engaged for the betterments of themselves, their families, their community, and by extension, their country. I would say their planet. But anyway, so that's what I want to leave you with. So I'm going to open this up for questions and discussion. But first, I want to share these two handouts with you. So the first one, these are both from the Living Earth Community Action Training, and we were mostly done with that class before the November election. And the first handout is the activist aptitude. So you could just take one and pass it. And you could take one sec. And like I said, you know, it has to do with the relevant skills. You might have a lot of skills, like I'm good at sewing, but an environmental organization may not really know what to do with that skill. And then the next handout is tips for leadership. So I actually took the training that I mentioned a second time this year, and I felt like I took it this year as a co-facilitator because I wanted to have the material sink in more. I felt like I had rushed through the material, and I really thought that it had more value than I got out of it. And it was right, because the first week I read this tips for, they called it principles for good leadership. And I modified it a little bit. It used to have, okay, these are double-sided. So, yeah, well, that should probably work. And it's just 2 pages. And I boiled it down to 7. So I hope you find those useful. And I really think, let's see, yeah, so now I guess my question is, how about that? Do you have any questions for me? And while you're looking at those, I have some questions for you, something for you to think about. So, who here has worked on a project that ended up being a dead end? Couple hands? Okay. And you know that saying, if you fall off that horse, you got to just get right back on? And were there times where getting back on that horse didn't happen? It just like, man. And then, where did the ball drop? Was it something between the organizer and the volunteer? Was it something in that relationship? Or were there parts that were skipped on the positive feedback loop? Like, if I had only done blah, 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 it might have had a different outcome, type of thing. And so that's just like food for thought, but any questions? I'll shut up now. Take a drink of water. Yep.
Yeah, I just want to comment. I was listening to an NPR presentation to an author, global warming author, in the Michael Mann genre, and the question was asked, what's the most important thing, and he said that communication, some way of just getting the communication going, getting people in some way verbalizing about climate change. And so I've been thinking of ways to do that. And interestingly, I was reading the Week in Review, and one article was in there that described a slight decrease in the CO2, atmospheric CO2, and they attribute it to use of sustainable power, sustainable energy. And of course, the president takes it totally incorrectly, which is, well, see, we don't have it at all. Or he did it more crudely and in a more grotesque way. But that would be, I could think, a good starting point, to use with somebody. And so I think like that. I think of little starting points, little zingers, to present, and then go from there, and then use other supporting kinds of facts and factoids and whatever adds meaning to all of that.
Good.
Like talking to a hardcore alcoholic. You don't get into reasoning, and you don't get into details of much of anything. You just got to pick a hardcore truism, and you go on that, and you keep repeating it, or you keep going back to the same subject over and over.
Yeah.
And it keeps them off balance.
Yeah, I mean, my strategy is to let the big guns deal with the climate deniers. I'm just doing things that we can all agree on, and like food is a common ground issue, literally, and so that's how I do a little bit of do they call it jojitsu, where you duck the blow? That's my jojitsu.
A lot of the reasoning is that the sustainable energy will be so attractive that it will create its own momentum. And then the reality of its advantages will be realized at a later time.
So the advantages of taking climate action?
That's what I'm thinking. It's kind of like, the boneheads will say, "Oh yeah, but I can get this. I don't have to pay $60 to fill up my tank," and that'll be their first concern. But later down the road, they may start thinking in terms of the bigger picture.
Yeah, it's like, oh, what if we, built bike trails and planted trees,
Yes.
and it was all for nothing. Hey, you got bike trails and trees. So, yeah. And if anybody hasn't, done a Venn diagram worksheet for you, we have some copies up here. Because it was a very special gathering. And the YouTube video link, I think, is on the calendar for this event tonight.
I think so.
It was a 10-minute TED Talk by Elizabeth Ayanna Johnson. You want that one? Okay. Anybody else?
I have it in my workbook.
Yeah. And then, I think, these, the handouts that I gave and, the books that I showed, they've been very impactful for me, and it's not easy to stay moving forward with climate change, especially, after November 2024. I meant to crack a joke about in the beginning of 2024, was that the beginning of the end? And the jury is still out. So I don't know, but we shall see. Yeah.
Would you talk more about the first book that you held up, and is that class that's going to be offered again?
Oh, this book? This is a really good book, and the class was really good, and maybe we might revisit it. Lorraine Cook, who was kind of the anchor of Southern Oregon Pachamama Alliance. She's older now, but she did a really good job because she combined this book, the teachings of this book. You can take a picture of it if you want. Active Hope, How to Face the Mess We're In Without Going Crazy. But the Ollie class was Active Hope and the Years of Living Dangerously. So she combined, there was a I think it was a National Geographic series called The Years of Living Dangerously, and it was documentary footage every week of different people experiencing different parts of the countries that were really being challenged, different parts of the world that were really being challenged. Going into the Amazon, the places where, there's sea level rise, things like that. And so each week it would be a different person and different issues being brought up. And it was really very powerful. So she would switch gears and have a little bit of this, a little bit of that, and then Project Drawdown. It was very good. Very well-run class. And yes, we could structure another class like that very easily. Yes, Susan.
I just want to thank Flavia. Oop, hello. Probably loud enough without this. No. When I first met Flavia at a meeting several years ago, and there was something inspirational about what she was saying, not that it was anything I was doing anything about, but she was willing to come and talk to me, and I thought, well, this isn't that complicated for my neighborhood to do something. Maybe there's other people interested in doing something. That's the thing, you never know if there are other people interested in doing something too, if you don't kind of put it out there. And so she helped me put the information out online, and sure enough, about 10 neighbors showed up, and Flavia talked a little bit about it, and one of those neighbors was able to connect with the person who does the pickup, and there were enough of those neighbors, there were not that many neighbors to start with, who thought, well, yes, I could not throw that much away. I could just save it week by week. And the one neighbor said, well, and I could pick it up and we could get it delivered. And it was little bits and pieces, and it's been very successful.
So that was you guys probably started at the beginning of 2024, so it's been going a few years now.
Yeah, it's doing well, and we need to do it again.
That's great.
Well, just this little neighborhood.
And
But then she's
Mill
over at
Pond,
the
Mill Pond neighborhood.
Yeah. And she's
Yeah.
over at the market.
Yeah,
so
and I
we
think
missed
that there
something.
are other neighborhoods that have buckets that you could bring your stuff. Like if you live around the corner from somebody, you could walk over and use their bucket, but you still need to contribute because this does cost gas more now than before, and somebody's time and labor to do. So it's that's the hard part, is the financial modeling, because the thinking is, it's just trash. Why should I pay somebody to take my trash? Because I already pay Recology, or I already pay Rogue Disposal. Well, but they're not doing anything with it, and this is recyclable material. It's like throwing away aluminum cans. We don't really do that anymore. We recycle those cans because they can be recycled, and we should try and do that. And so this is a way of recycling the food scraps to get those nutrients back in the ground. And we need that because I'm glad we're living in Rogue Valley, because I did some research, and for them to restore the soil back to good soil health in the Midwest, it would cost trillions of dollars. I mean, it would be just a huge undertaking, because they've been like conventional farming there so long and so much space. The soil is not getting better, it's getting worse. So that's my soapbox. Yes, Ray. Dr. Seidler, I should say. Okay, Ray.
Ray,
Flavia, I didn't hear you mention much in the way of climate or climate change. And I want to speculate something.
Uh-huh.
You say that food is medicine.
Yes.
So could it be true that you are alluding to the situation where climate or climate change is the illness? Food is the medicine. What is the illness? Is the illness climate change? And you just started to get down the road of a lot of literature in the last 7 years about the relationship between food production and climate change.
Yes. So I have a quote, and this is from Allison Sexauer. She's the executive director of Rogue Valley Food System Network. And she says, the Rogue Valley is experiencing an extraordinary transformation in our local food system. So this is everything that we should be caring about, right? From the surge in small-scale farming to the challenges of climate change, our community faces both exciting opportunities and significant challenges in creating a sustainable, equitable food system that serves everyone. So sustainable, equitable, serves everyone. And it is really a challenge. I mean, it's a challenge for every community, but here especially because, as Alan has stated, it's getting hotter here. It's going to eventually become like Bakersfield. Stuff doesn't grow the same way it used to. The seasons get kind of mixed up to where you think you're going to have a great harvest, and then all of a sudden you get a late freeze. And that just wipes everything out. So these are the kinds of things that farmers are finding that climate change is affecting them. When Sarah did their listening tour, I hope that they had some farmers giving those kinds of stories, because that's gonna impact a lot of Oregon, because Oregon has a lot of agriculture. And my sense is that I just came from the State Grange Convention, and this is off the record because, and I hope there's no reporters here, but one of the Granges had proposed that the State Grange, so there's 140 Granges represented around the state, that the State Grange support, Sarah, the Oregon Constitutional Environmental Rights Amendment. Oregon Coalition for an Environmental Rights Amendment to the Oregon State Constitution. They affirmed that they would support it. So that is a big darn deal, right? Because I think farmers understand that. So by the way, I want to give a shout out to Ingrid. She is the leader of the Living Earth Community Action Training. And so I've been she's been mentoring me a lot. And so I'm very glad that you came tonight. Thank you. I wanted to also speak to your issue, Ray, about a lot of people say, don't talk about climate change because it's a trigger term, right? If you talk about global warming, and if you talk about sustainability, that's safer, right? And I will talk about anything if it makes a connection with people. And the thing that got me about sustainability is, like, you're meeting the needs now, but you're not impacting resources for future generations. So that, to me, is where we have to focus and stay on. So if I didn't mention climate change enough, what I did do is I mentioned that Ashland Food Co-op reported that our food scrap collection is actually avoiding CO2 equivalent in X number of tons. I could look it up in their annual report, but that was a big darn deal to me. That they're measuring it and they're claiming it, and they want to do more because they're serious about becoming carbon neutral. And so what they have to do is, for the carbon that they do generate in their operations, they have to find an offset. So this is an offset for them.
So does that mean you could actually, maybe somebody here knows, can you create carbon offsets that you can sell then to fund your endeavors? Is that still something that goes on to where you can sell the benefits of your endeavors?
That's a really good question. I think you could say it informally, but to do it formally, you got to jump through a lot of hoops. There's a lot of certification involved and qualification, and and all this over here. But informally, you could say, "Hey, help us help the planet," right? Which is what helping SOCAN, would do, because they're helping spread the word, and that's the communication part is what we need. Because if I feel so victorious because I have 100 people showing up every week giving me food scraps, but it's kind of a drop in the bucket. What we need a lot more people talking and sharing, and so that part of that is what SOCAN is trying to do, and they're trying to give people the tools that will help them do whatever they can do best and serve that purpose. Does that make sense?
Would you join me in thanking Flavia for her presentation tonight? Thank you very much.
I'll collect this stuff later, and you can have that.
See how we do here.
Where do you teach? If there's an OLLI class or
So my charge is to share with you things that SOCAN is doing and other groups and encourage you to get engaged. And I'm hoping that with what Flavia is saying about looking at what you're good at, what makes you feel good, is there something in things others are doing you could join them and you would feel like you're making a contribution? So a few things that are happening. We are involved in Ashland's 4th of July celebration, and we will have an entry in the parade, and we'll also have a booth in the park afterwards. We're looking for people to help both walk in the parade and at the booth. There are sign-up sheets in the back if you would consider that. There are time slots on the booth, and if you don't know when you're available, just put your name on the bottom and I'll get in touch with you. The parade, it is all downhill, so it's like a mile, but downhill. And it's just amazing if you haven't been in one of the 4th of July parades when you walk by and people clap because you're there. It just really feels great. So consider that. And then the booth, if you are interested in helping but you feel you don't know enough, somebody will always be there to help you. So if you're willing to talk to people and share ideas that you're doing, that's great, and we'd appreciate having you. Social media, Daniel is not physically with us tonight, but he's still helping us with a lot of the things we're doing, including our social media. So making an impact with the postings and things people are reading. And if you're on Facebook, Blue Sky, Blue Sky, or Instagram, we have accounts there. So if you see our posts and can share those, that would be very much appreciated. One of the projects that's very active is our federal and state project. And this group is planning a candidate forum, which will include people invited who are running for Board of Commissioners, state legislators, and it's scheduled for October 13th. If you want to help with it, we appreciate help. The next meeting is July 13th. But mark your calendars for October 13th to join us to hear what the people are going to say. They're going to be given questions about climate and environment. SOCAN.eco/events is where our calendar is. And so there's details if I mention something or you want to know what we're doing. If you go there, you can see information about our different events. We have a group called Sustaining Climate Activists. It meets monthly. It's a support group for people working in the climate change arena. It's open to anybody. People from other groups come and join us. You don't have to be part of SOCAN. We tried this month to get to Blue Heron Park, and it was rainy and very cold, so we backed up to the library, but hopefully next month we'll be in the park. But we'll edit the calendar if you're interested in coming and not sure where it is. We have received a grant. It's called Youth in Schools Climate Education. We're just starting on this process. We are interviewing for a project coordinator and a project evaluator. Hope to have those in place, next week, we think, with the 4th being in there. And then once they're in place, we'll work with them to plan. We'll have lead teachers. We'll have 2 from each of Jackson, Josephine, and Curry counties. And then those lead teachers will develop lesson plans or adapt lesson plans they've used previously to include climate change. And then they'll teach those. Then we'll expand. We'll bring in 18 more teachers, and they'll do the same thing. So if you know teachers, K-12, in Jackson, Josephine, or Curry counties, mention it to them, and you can give them my email. It's just Kathy@socan.eco, or let me know about them, because we are excited about what we might be able to do, and we're thinking this might be a good pilot project for us and that we can carry it on. David's working on this. Did I miss anything there? Okay. SOCAN ED, since Daniel is moving on, as educators, we can't criticize him for going back to school, but we do miss him. We're working on our description, and the search will be underway very soon. So if you know anybody who might be interested in applying to be SOCAN's 2nd executive director, info@socan.eco is a good place to send a note, and we'll have that job description posted soon. Looking at other groups, Southern Oregon Land Conservancy has star thistle to sunset. I think you can probably imagine what that one's about. Maybe you don't live in star thistle country like we do. So they're having a weed pull and a potluck dinner Thursday, July 2nd, 4 to 8. And the other information is there if you're interested in helping them out with that. This is from KS Wild. They have First Friday art shows. The next one is Friday, July 3rd, and Daniel didn't put on. This is at the KS Wild office in downtown Ashland. OSU Land Steward Training. This is an extensive training starting September 8th and going to December 8th. There's registration and tuition is required. And so information on this, it's not very easy, but Eugene Weir at oregonstate.edu, or you can go online and look. That's a program they do annually, I think. And Rogue Valley Voice is a listing of what Rick calls an eco-spiritual calendar, things of possible interest if you want to know things that are happening in the area. Where's our next meeting? Did I skip our next meeting? It was the first slide. Next month. Next month on July date, last Tuesday in July, same place, same time, and the title is?
Last Tuesday's the 28th.
This one.
Sorry, it looked like tonight's. I thought I was in the wrong place. It's titled In Cold Blood.
Oh, boy.
The Global Warming Guillotine for Our Buggy Friends and Foes. Alan is going to do that presentation. You may not know his training is as an entomologist. That's his background. So that's our meeting next month. I was at the end, I believe, right? Bottom line is, do something. Whatever it is, do something. All right? And engage others with you. Thanks a lot for being here. And Flavia, thank you very much for your presentation tonight.